Hello, Marius. Good to meet you in this talk. One of our researchers at Effective Religion and Theology, maybe for some of our alumni not yet well known, but you're very much active in the field of theology and artificial intelligence. How did you end up in that field?
Yes, thank you, Ruard, for the invitation. It is true that it is a new topic of thinking, especially for theologians. I have a personal story with AI because I have been practicing the Chinese game of Go. It's an ancient strategy game, and I have been a long life practicant of that game. And I grew up with the idea that machines will never be able to defeat humans in Go because it's so complex, it's almost artistic, some people say.
Like the old discussion about whether computers could ever play chess like humans can.
Similar, yes, exactly. But Go is a few orders of magnitude more complex. So there was this widespread idea that it will take a long time, at least, for computers to defeat humans. And then in 2016, AlphaGo from Google DeepMind did it, and they defeated the Korean world, the best player in the world at that time. And that for me was an emotional experience, and that's when I started to take AI really seriously. And
what was the emotion involved, Marius?
I was very sad, really. I cried when that. It was like a myth that I have believed in, and it got destroyed. And then, but of course, on the shatters, on the ruins of that ideal picture that I had of human intelligence and its high status, I think I started to reflect more and more about what makes us distinctive in comparison with machines.
Let's go there in a second, but I really want to understand this sadness, because I think you're not the only one who feels that somehow our human superiority over machines is essential for us to be human, right?
Yes. That is right. I'm not too troubled about other AI achievements, so I quite rejoice when I hear that AI is doing all kinds of good things and better than human experts. But with the Go thing, which was my own turf, it's my piece of magic, and it's because, as I said, humans, I mean, the Go masters, when they are asked to describe what they are doing in a game, they are not very capable of precisely saying what they are doing. They say it's more like a feeling. It looked good. It's a combination of aesthetics with logical intelligence, strategy, calculation. So that's why,
What struck me in my readings in the field is that for a long time we thought that strategy was a difficult one for machine learning and artificial intelligence. Decision making, especially ethical decision making, where it's not like a black and white. We really have to weigh different principles, and creativity. Yes. And in all those fields, modern artificial intelligence is really capable of doing similar things as humans are. Yes. I read about the composing, music composing, for example, where trained listeners, musicians, were not able to distinguish the music composed by machines or the music composed by humans.
Yes.
So I can see that it would be similar, let's say, distortions of where we feel that we humans are superior to the machines.
Yes, and I think it is also a case where things we have a high regard for because we see them as very mysterious, very shrouded in all this veil of once we understand exactly what they are, the magic is lost. And it applies to machines as well, because the person John McCarthy, who coined the term artificial intelligence, famously said that as soon as it works, nobody calls it AI anymore. So even our own idea of AI is something in the future, but when we have it, we say, "Oh, it's just a computer program. It's just Siri," you know. But for people 30 years ago, that would have been really artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, theologically, of course, we've always, for at least for a very long time, held on to the idea of human as the crown of creation, as imago Dei, and so on. And machines, of course, were just something that we created. So by definition, that was a second level at best. How does this affect your theology? Because that's what you're focusing on, right?
Yes, yes, indeed. That was the main question I asked in my PhD thesis.
Yeah.
And well, I think the story of humans creating AI is a bit different than the Genesis story of God creating humans, because AI seems to have in it the possibility of outmatching our most of our cognitive capabilities, if not all of them. Ethical decision making that you were mentioning, of course, it's not yet there yet, but some people say that there is no reason in principle to deny that that will happen someday.
Yeah.
So then we have a creature that will overpass its creator at some point. So that makes it quite different than the other story. And that's why I was interested in whether we can still speak of human distinctiveness if machines reach human level intelligence. And yeah, for me, it was an opportunity to rediscover some, yeah, for myself, but to uncover them maybe for others as well, a richer theological anthropology. Because I think when we are not challenged in any way, we resort to simple definitions and to very vague expressions. And you can see that also in church history. So as soon as you had a heresy that was challenging, then you had also the very creative theologians who would formulate in a dogma something, an intuition that was already shared. And I feel that the same way has happened, for example, with evolutionary theory, that has forced us to think in more nuanced and complex ways about the human being. And nowadays, artificial intelligence is, some people say that is bringing the last nail in our coffin, but I don't think that. So I think it forces us to be more specific about what makes us in the image of God, and to appreciate more some of the things that maybe we thought were flaws or vulnerabilities, but actually perhaps it is those things that make us in the image of God and distinguish us from the rest of creation.
Yeah, you have to say a bit more about that, because I think what is bothering for our theological self-understanding as humans, or our anthropology in that sense, is that on the one hand, we are much more like the animals than we ever thought. I mean, Darwin and all have, and all the research since then, work on chimpanzees, for example, it has shown that humans and animals are not that dissimilar. So we are not that distinct. And on the other hand, if machines are not that distinct from us, what is our uniqueness?
Yes, that is the question, I would say. But you see, I think a difference comes from the fact that I don't think machines are like us. I think AI can reach human level, technically speaking. So, and it has already in many domains. But AI does things in a very different way than humans do it. Even when we solve the same problem, computers choose a very different method, whereas humans resort more on heuristics, on intuition. Computers sometimes go through all the possible solutions, so something that we cannot do because we don't have that capacity.
But that's even why Yuval Harari says when it comes to information processing, machines are just much better than we.
Well, are they? I mean, yes, in quantitatively, yes, but I would say that because we cannot match them quantitatively, our brains are forced to find more qualitative methods that can help us to get around. So if you look at our cognition, I think we do many things that seem almost irrational. We have all these shortcuts that most of the times work. Sometimes they don't work, and we consider them cognitive biases. But most of the times they work, and that is formidable, I think. And we have a very particular type of intelligence that is very much connected to our embodiment, to our embeddedness in the environment, to our own vulnerabilities, and to the challenges that we have to face throughout our evolution.
But that's really a step away from our tradition, at least for the last half century, I would say, in which we would feel that our rationality was what makes us stand out. But when you say, well, actually, maybe machines are more rational in that sense, but we have a more integrated intelligence, combining intuition and emotional intelligence and so on.
Yes, I think that is exactly right. And I think the paradigm where intelligence or our uniqueness was equated with rationality is also fading in AI, because it's obvious that's not what it is to be a human being. And indeed, the things that well, the things where think about it, I think it all boils down to what you value about human beings. And for example, in a relational interpretation of the Imago Dei, where you see our relationship with God and our capacity to be in relationship, deep, personal, authentic relationships with each other, if that is the thing that is most important about us, maybe not being completely rational is central to that. Because if you were completely rational, maybe you wouldn't even have the kind of relationship that you currently have. I mean, we all have flaws. So if we all remembered, let's say, each other's sins forever, maybe no relationship would be possible at all. So so that's why I think that you have to be a little bit irrational maybe to be in a relationship. That's a dangerous claim, I guess, because
yeah, I guess faith and also love and hope are never completely rational.
Yes,
they cannot be. They want to believe in something that is not there, and by believing in it, you make it present. So there is by necessity an element of irrationality. I think that makes really sense. How does that make us different from animals? Because that's the other part.
Yes, so I think indeed that animals and AI can serve as two reference points when I mean, I don't like this unidimensionality where you have a spectrum. There is obviously a multidimensional space of intelligences, but if we simplify it just for the sake of the argument, I would say that you, of course, need to be above a certain threshold of intelligence to be capable of having these relationships. And I think in Christian theology, we know that because God did not incarnate as a crocodile or as a bear.
As far as we know.
Yes, as far as we know, that's correct. Yes. So maybe there was something, there was a threshold that needed to be reached in order for God to become able to incarnate and to do the salvific mission. So then if you think about it like that, I think you can think of a Goldilocks of intelligence where it is not too low that no personal relationship is possible, but it is not too high that is hyper rational and it's the kind of dumb machine that you see. So somewhere in between, I think that's maybe that's an interesting idea to explore for theology.
Yeah. I like the way how you, on the one hand, you demystify artificial intelligence, clarify that it's not necessarily better in all dimension degrees, but it has specific qualities that are also different from ours. And on the other hand, you seem to have, let's say, a plea to rediscover the value of irrationality and of relationship. I think that really paves new ground also for our theological self-reflection. It reminds me of one of my colleagues in practical theology who wrote in a book, "Lovers and only lovers know God." And I think that would really make it different from an AI perspective.
Yes, I think so. And I think we have a lot to draw on in our own tradition, because if we look at the person of Jesus Christ, for example, if we look at Christ as the perfect human being, whatever people believe in the actual existence of Christ, or if for some people he's just a symbol, but even that, it speaks about what we find as important for human beings. And if you look at Christ, I don't think you see super intelligence necessarily. You see super empathy, you see super love, you see super mercy, and all kind, if you want to put super as a prefix. But still, you see a lot of things that are more valuable than this kind of intelligence that we chose to pursue in artificial intelligence. So maybe
Just
I was misguided in the first place, looking for just one type from the big spectrum of things that humans are capable of.
to conclude, Marius, if in the next 5 years theologians would engage with one key question regarding artificial intelligence, which question would that be?
Well, I think I think there are two ways of looking at this. One is how AI is changing our own theology, and I think here we have a lot of reflection on our anthropology and yes, even our conception of God, and whether this super intelligent being that is potentially possible challenges our idea of an almighty creator and governor of the world. But I think an even more interesting way of looking at this is the other way around. Like, what does theology have to offer to the global discussion about AI? And it seems to me that most people are just stuck in this discussion of whether AI will kill us or not, accidentally will replace us. It will be too dumb to realize that it is killing us on the way of achieving the goals that we have set for it. I think too much discussion takes place to avoid this scenario, which of course it is important, but I think very little reflection is on what if AI really works, and what if it really does the things that we program it to do? Then what? Because it seems like we are dreaming of this utopia of abundance and of a world without work and so on, which we take for granted that it will be better than the current world. But I think religious traditions might have something to do about something to say about what is good, what is a good world, what is it that we should strive for and that makes humans flourish. And currently, I think the philosophers and ethicists that are involved in this discussion are not talking about this as much as they should.
Don't be afraid, dream a bit more.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Marius. Great to hear your views on artificial intelligence and theology.
Thank you, Ruard.